Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Mary, and today's video was supposed to be a vlog for the OLYMPICSATHON readathon, and I did participate in the OLYMPICSATHON readathon. However, I did not vlog anything. I vlogged an intro, and that is all that I have for this vlog. So instead, I thought I would just come on here and give you my wrap up for the OLYMPICSATHON readathon. I don't know how well this is gonna go. I don't know how many people are gonna care to watch this, but I did participate in the readathon, and I did not accomplish all of the prompts, but I will talk more about that as I go through the books that I read for this readathon, and I will go through them based on the prompts that I read them for. So if you don't know, then the OLYMPICSATHON readathon is a readathon that is hosted every year that there is an Olympics Games. So I've participated in the Winter Olympics from 2 years ago, and I participated in the Summer Olympics this time around. And they run from the dates of the opening ceremony to the closing ceremony. So this readathon ended on August 11th, which was yesterday for me, and it started on July 26th, maybe? I don't exactly remember what day it was supposed to start. However, I did read quite a few things for this readathon. So the prompts are as follows. They have 5 main prompts and then several bonus prompts. So the 5 main prompts were 1, summer, read a book that is set in the summertime. 2, sports, read a book that features sports. 3, country, which was to read a book from the host country or relating to the host country in some way, which for this one was France. 4 was, the prompt was host, which is to read a book relating to, never mind. Sorry. Country was relating to the country that you sign up to represent. This is a Teams readathon, so I signed up to represent the United States because I'm American. So that's the country that I did. Host is the 4th prompt, and that is to read a book that relates to the host country, which was France. And 5 is Paralympics, which is to read a book with disability representation. There was also bonus prompts, so you got bonus points if you could read 5 books from 5 different continents. You also got bonus points if you could read a book that had all 5 of the Olympic colors on the cover, which is red, green, blue, yellow, and black. And then also you got bonus points for reading translated books. I don't know if you got them for individual translated books or only if you read 5 translated works. Spoiler alert, I only read 2 translated books this month, or this 2-week period. And then foiling on the cover is another prompt, and that's because like metals are sparkly, I guess. So now I'm gonna go through and tell you the books that I read for this readathon. So to fulfill the summer prompt, I'm gonna check quickly, but I don't think I read anything that would fulfill that prompt. No, I don't think I did read anything with the summer prompt. I did mean to read a book that fulfilled that and also the foiling on the cover prompt, which I was going to reread The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware, because I believe that's set in the summertime, and it's got foiling on the cover. It's like silver sparkly. It's downstairs, or I would show it to you, but I have started rereading that now, but I did not finish rereading it in time for this readathon. For the sports, a book that features sports, I'm counting The Dutch House by Anne Patchett for this, and that is what is it? It's like a generational family story, but it's only one generation. It's almost like Dickensian in a way, because we follow mainly this guy, Danny, who grows up living in this like very resplendent manor in, I want to say it's like a suburb of Philadelphia in Pennsylvania, but he lives there with his sister, and then his dad remarries after his mom has left, and it's like an evil stepmother thing. She's got 2 daughters or 2 or 3 daughters, I can't remember, who are like the evil stepdaughters or stepsisters. And Danny and his sister, after their father dies, end up being like ousted from the home completely. And it's kind of about this like story of obsession that Danny and his sister both have with this house, but also like their dependency on each other because they're like the only family they have left, and also how they go through their lives and like the things that they do to try to ultimately get back to being owners of the Dutch house, because it's just this like house that lives in their brains and is like so ingrained in what they deserve and what they should have, and it represents like everything that they thought their life was going to be, but they didn't end up getting it. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. It made me really emotional. I really enjoyed that we follow these characters over like 50, 60 years. We see them get married, we see them get divorced, we see them like struggle with illnesses and all sorts of things. I counted this as sports rep, or like a book with sports, because Danny is playing basketball, and that's like part of how he ends up paying for his school stuff, and like that's what he does in school and what he like one of the things he wants to do. And it's it's not a huge part of the book as a whole, but it is a big part for like several chapters, so I counted it. But I love this book. Let me know in the comments if you've read it and how you felt about it. I think it has some mixed reviews-ish. It's also listed as like a dark fairy tale of sorts. It's not fantasy at all. And I feel like, I don't know that I think it is like a dark fairy tale, but it does have like a lot of fairy tale beats, which I think is fun and interesting. But I really, really love that book, and I'm so glad I finally read it. For country, read a book that relates to the country you're representing. Again, I chose to represent the US, so for this I'm counting Daughters of the New Year by E.M. Tran. And this is a multi-generational family story set in New Orleans primarily, and it's about this Vietnamese family, and it's sort of pitched as being like a retelling of the Chinese zodiac myth, or the maybe it's the Vietnamese zodiac, I'm not really sure. But through each of the characters that is a different zodiac sign. And I thought that was really interesting. That's not a huge part of it, but it is like a huge part of how each of the daughters relates to their mother. I did not end up loving this book. I gave it, I think, 3 stars, but it was like a 2.5 that I rounded up. And the things I didn't really like about this book, I didn't love the storytelling format. So it's told reverse chronological. So we get like a snippet of each of the daughters' lives in present day, and then it goes back in time a little bit, and we get a snippet, and then it goes back in time a little bit more. And then eventually we end up back in the 70s, I think, 70s or 60s, when Xuan, who is the mother of these girls, first comes to America, and like what that was like for her. And like, that's just not my favorite way to be told a story. I don't really like reverse chronological. Is something that I've learned about myself. I also didn't love that this story is very focused on each character individually and less about the relationships between the characters and like a plot with all of them. Like, I don't know that there was a single time that they were all in the same room interacting, which is fine, but it just like wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be a story about the relationship between these sisters and between this mother and her daughters, and it just didn't really feel like that. Like, it didn't really hit that box for me. So unfortunately, I didn't love this book. But again, it is set in the US, so I'm counting it as my country prompt. For the host prompt, read a book that relates to France. I read The Stranger by Albert Camus, and I love this one as well. And this is translated from French, which is why I think it relates. It's not actually set in France, though. It's set in Algeria, and it's by an Algerian author. So that's interesting. I guess they speak French in Algeria, which is something that I did not know before right now. But I love this book. It's about this guy who it's like a very philosophical book, so I was never sure if I was going to like it, but it's this guy who like just doesn't really connect to the world, and he doesn't really see the point in anything. He feels like everything is kind of pointless and has no meaning, and then he ends up getting involved in this crime, and so for part of it, he's like on trial for this crime, and the fact that he's always sort of been like, I don't really see the meaning in life, and he's not religious, that's like really turned everyone against him, kind of. And I don't know, it was just a very dark, but also like beautiful book. And it was so interesting to read from a main character who did not have like any morality. Like, not even that he's morally bad or morally gray. It's just that he observes everything and is like, this is what this person did. It made me feel nothing. And I think some people wouldn't like that. I thought it was so interesting. I loved it. So that's what I read for that. And then for the Paralympics, read a book with disability rep. I chose In the Lives of Puppets by Chi Klun for this because I was pretty sure it had some disability rep, and I don't know that it really counts, but I'm going to tell you about it anyways because I did read it for this readathon, and I would have talked about it in a vlog had I vlogged and remembered to do that. But this book is a Pinocchio retelling, and it's set in like a dystopian world of sorts, and we're following this cast of characters where we basically got Geppetto, whose name I believe is Giovanni or Gio in the book, and he has been given a human child to care for in this world where humans basically don't exist anymore. And so our main character is this asexual boy who's like coming to terms with his sexuality. We've also got like a couple other robots. So there's like a nurse robot called Nurse Ratchet, which is a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest reference. And there's also a vacuum robot named Rambo. And I liked parts of this book, but ultimately I think I gave this book 3 stars. I thought it was fine. I might have given it 3.5 and rounded it up to 4, but I feel like that's generous. They end up having to go on a quest, okay, to sort of and as I go on this quest, I figure out why humans are no longer in existence anymore, and like they have to deal with like the consequences of different decisions and actions. And it reminded me a little bit of Psalm for the Wild Built, which I didn't love. I don't know that I don't like robots or exactly what I don't like about this. I do know that one thing I disliked about this story in particular is that the robots, there's like sexually explicit content with the robots, which fine, but also like more than I would like. Like, I don't know. And I've been trying to come to terms with the fact that like, am I a prude? I'm not sure, but like, if it's not a particular type of book, I don't really like sex in general fiction. I just feel like it's not interesting for me to read, and it makes me uncomfortable, but I don't know. So it was fine. I don't know that it counts for disability rep. I do know that like each of the robots is like broken, but they're not people. And the only human character I don't believe had a disability. So take that for what you will, but that is what I picked for that because I thought I saw somewhere that it like might have disability rep, but I don't know. It was very like Island of Misfits Toys-y, and not in a horrible way. It's got a quest, which was quite fun. It was funny at times, but I just didn't love the direction it went in. It just wasn't really for me, which is fine. And then I did read a couple other things to fulfill some of the bonus prompts. So for 5 books from 5 different continents, I had The Dutch House, which I used to represent North America, Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney, which I used to represent Europe, which is another 5-star book for me. I absolutely love this. I read this, I think, on the last day of the readathon. And it is a mystery thriller about a husband and wife, the Wrights, Mr. and Mrs. Wright, and they are having some troubles in their marriage. So Mrs. Wright wins, her name's Amelia. I don't know why I'm calling it. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's Amelia and Adam. And Amelia wins a like weekend getaway to a secluded converted chapel in Scotland. And so she takes Adam there to try to work through some of their marriage problems. And they also bring their dog, who's this lab named Bo. And Adam is face blind, so he can't recognize people's faces. That is the like way that the author was able to get away with a lot of stuff that she did in this, I guess. But it was fine. I don't know exactly how face blindness works, but it is what it is. So that's like the basic setup. Not every other chapter, but like every few chapters, you get letters written by the wife to her husband, or to Adam, about each year of their marriage. And she's never given him these letters, and they all contain like little clues to what may be going on, and also like what may be causing the marital problems. I love this book. I've seen mixed reviews, okay? Seems like a lot of BookTube people really didn't like this. I thought it was so good. I did not expect the twist, but I knew something was gonna happen, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. And it ended up being very different than I thought it would be. And yeah, I just thought it was like such an interesting book and like so well done. One of the complaints I have heard about this book, so I do wanna warn you, is that it's very slow paced at the beginning and it feels more like a mystery and then it ramps up. And again, I've described this when I talk about Ruth Ware's writing. That's something that I love about the way she does her thrillers, is she starts off really building this atmospheric mystery, and eventually it snowballs into a like sort of thrilling plot twist, or like at least something that's gonna like get your blood pumping, you know? And I like that. That pacing works for me, but I know it doesn't work for everybody, so I did just wanna make you aware of that. So that was my Europe book. For South America, I decided to read A Long Petal of the Sea by Isabel Allende, and I ended up really, really enjoying this one as well. This is a book set primarily in Spain and then Chile. We're following this group of characters. They're not related, but we're following Rosaire and Victor primarily. And it's during the Spanish Civil War, and Victor's brother Guillem is dating Rosaire. And he gets her pregnant, and then he ends up going missing, and they have to flee out of Spain. So Victor and Rosaire go together to Chile, and they basically embark on this like life of being married. And it's about their relationship. It's about their relationship with Rosaire's son, who Victor takes on as his own son. It's about like learning things years later, but it's also about like having your life really ravaged by war and having to pave a new pathway for yourself, and what that might be like. And also it's about like building a life kind of on lies and where you draw the line about what you're lying about. It was so good. I really enjoyed this book. Okay, so that's the book that I used for South America. Sorry if there's like a weird jump. My husband came home and he's on the phone, so I had to like pause and regroup for a second. But then for Asia, I used Daughters of the New Year because again, it takes place partially in the US, partially in Vietnam. And then for Africa, I used The Stranger, which worked out really well. I did not even know the book was in Africa. So it just was coincidentally perfect. And then for the 5 colors on the cover prompt, I used In the Lives of Puppets for this because I believe red, green, blue, yellow, and black are all on that cover somewhere. And I'm gonna say that they are. So that's gonna count for me for that. For the translated books, I only ended up reading 2. I had really high hopes to read a lot more translated works than I actually ended up doing, but I read The Stranger, which again was translated from French, and A Long Petal of the Sea, which again was translated from Spanish. I actually don't know if I said that, but Isabel Allende is a Chilean author, and so she wrote that book in Spanish originally. I think it was originally published in Spain, and then it's been translated, obviously, and I read it in English. And again, I did not end up reading a book that had foiling on the cover, but I wanted to read The Turn of the Key by Ruth Ware because I own it and I've been wanting to reread it. So that's that. Those are the books that I read for the Olympics-thon readathon. I did not fully complete it, but I did pretty well, I think. I didn't even get all the main prompts, but I feel like I did a good job. Let me know in the comments down below if you participated in this readathon, what you read. Also, let me know what your favorite sport at the Olympics this year was. I won't lie, I've never really been a men's gymnastics girl, but Steve, the pommel horse guy, has turned me into a men's gymnastics girl. I was so pleased with watching him do his little pommel horse, and I love the memes that came out of it. So anyways, I hope you had a great Olympics season, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!